Welcome to World Shaping Leadership, housed by the Great British Foreign Affairs Podcast. Welcome back to day 2 of the Your Week of Possibility Challenge. Now, if you're catching us on socials, on the podcast, we are here this week transforming ordinary weeks into extraordinary results. And you can join us by going to worldshapingleadership.com and joining the challenge there. You'll be sent all the details and the replays, and you'll be able to download your free strategic weekly planner. I hope that those of you that were here yesterday have been able to follow the link in the email that I sent and download that planner too. It's so important because it's full of gold and it backs up all the trainings here, and you will love working through it, I know. So make sure you have downloaded that. Now, I'm wondering how you got on with day 1 yesterday. How did it go with your big rocks concepts? I hope that you've got more big rocks in your week, particularly those bigger rocks of your life goals and dreams. And I hope that you've found it useful thinking through what doesn't serve you and making more space in your week and your quarter by thinking about what doesn't serve you this season. I'm going to dive straight into the concept for today because I've got so much to unpack with you and I want to do it in a quick way for your schedule. And so today is all about you being you. I adore this concept. I absolutely love this concept. I think so much transformation and breakthroughs come from finding more out about who we are. And this is something I go into much more depth with my individual one-to-one clients. If you get through the end of this and you're interested in individual coaching that is centered around this kind of approach, then do, of course, reach out. But here today, I'm going to go through the basic concept and why it matters to think about these things, the incredible results that can come from it. And I'm going to go through different angles that help us unlock further who we really are and how we center our schedules and we work with ourselves rather than against ourselves. So you've probably heard the general idea of this, you being you, you do you. And I'm going to explain why this is so important. So when you align with who you naturally are, how you are intrinsically wired, who you were created to be, how you just naturally do things without having to try, then 3 amazing things happen. Firstly, you are more powerful, more impactful, more productive in the world. You shine brighter in the world when you're in your zone of genius, which is the place where you are just tapping into your natural skills and abilities in a really easy way because it comes so naturally to you. You could do this when you're younger. You can do it till the day you die. You are just great at this stuff. You are obviously more powerful and more impactful in the world. But the second consequence of aligning yourself more with you is that it is easy. There is more ease and more flow and less hustle, less striving, less hard, less trying to force round peg into a square peg into a round hole. Easier. It's easier when we align more with who we are. And the third consequence is we feel happier. We feel more happy and more satisfied when we are aligned with who we just are inside. And we are doing these things. We're showing up powerfully because we're in our zones of genius. And there's an ease and a breath and a flow to it. So we feel happier. I know that you will have already done some thinking and have a whole set of ideas of who you are. And I want to invite you to go even further with that today, to lean even closer in to who you are, how you work, and how you show up in the world when you take away the expectations, the shoulds, and what you think you should be doing and how things should be working. So I'm going to talk from 5 angles very quickly and then give you a tool at the end. The first angle to look at this from is a really powerful question that I came across a number of years ago. And I imagine that you've already heard people say, reconnect with who you were when you were younger. What did you love? What were you naturally drawn to? What did you find yourself doing? And I found this summed up in a really amazing way by the question, what was the one thing it always was? The one thing it always was. What was it? I can see this in my daughter. My daughter's 10. She is intrinsically and naturally like a magnet to recipes, ideas of what she could cook, then cooking them and then giving them to other people and making other people happy with them and herself. You could give her 20 different things all mixed together and she would almost immediately find her way towards the recipe idea and what she could do with that. What is your one thing? Your one thing that it always was? For me, it was always about the world. It was always about international things. When I was younger, my favorite game was called Travel Go. You moved around the world with different transport. You bought things with different currencies and then you bought souvenirs and you moved on to the next country. And I adored that game. That thread that you could see then, you can see now, you'll be able to see throughout the whole of my life. I'm absolutely sure. What's the one thing for you that it always was? Now, we are multifaceted people. There are all sorts of things we can dig around in, but sometimes this question can really focus the mind. The second angle is about rhythm and our own ways of working throughout the day and also with the seasons. And I'm sure you've thought about if you're an early bird or a night owl. I want to invite you to just tune in that little bit more to how do your days work completely naturally when your body is working in the way that it is just it's just does normally without any kind of restrictions or must-dos on the list. I realised a while ago that my normal bedtime is literally 20 past midnight. 20 past midnight, 20 past midnight. That is always when my body feels tired and actually wants to sleep. And so I've redesigned my days now and my week because I do have to get up early as well. And so there are certain times when I catch up on sleep. But I now have an evening which is more productive in the early bit of the evening, and then I go into rest, relaxation and chill, and my days work a lot better now. How would your days work if you aligned even more with who you are during your day? And again, with the seasons, I am someone that likes hibernating, cozy in the winter, in the spring and summer. I love being more outside, getting things done, being productive. My friend is the complete opposite, and we laugh about this. She gets things done in the winter, very easy to just focus. And then in the summer, she wants to be in the sun. She doesn't want to work. And so how do we work with that? The first step is awareness, and you can then, of course, tweak things and work with who you are. Find your own rhythms. The third angle is a really nice question, and that is to ask yourself, if you had to do a big reset, if you just wanted to have a marker of a beginning and a before and an after, what would you do to reset? What is the reset that only you would do? I had a really good example of this last year. It was 2024. There was a moment when I just knew I needed a big reset. I needed to be able to connect with who I was, what I wanted for the next season, what I was going to be aiming for and bringing, and how I wanted to live. I needed a reset. So for me, that was travel. And so I traveled with my 3 kids. We went around the world, 17 countries, between August and the end of the year. And people said to me, sorry, what? What are you going to do? I took them out of school and we had an incredible time. Sorry, what? And yet to me, honestly, it was the most obvious and natural thing. If I was going to do a reset, that was what I needed to do. And because it was completely aligned with who I was, it was easy. And I woke up literally every day of that trip completely energized, even though there was not much sleep, there were flights and there were disruptions and stress and all sorts, but I was so energized because I was being me. What is your reset that only you would do? And it's not that I'm suggesting to take a term off, although I do recommend that, but this is something at the weekend or in a day off. What would you do that really resets you? In a similar way, but a question that I absolutely love that takes a slightly different angle is, what would you do if you were taking a sabbatical? Now, I love this because it allows your brain to just put on pause all its objections, all its limiting beliefs. Let's say you're coming back into your life, everything will still be there, but just you can take a pause and you can put the world on pause for a few months. What would you do if you took a sabbatical? What skill would you learn? What would you explore? What creativity would you press into? What would you spend your days doing? My husband and I did this when we were on shared parental leave with our second child, and we went to Paris and we just spent the days full of what each of us wanted to do just for us. And the reverberations of that time just continue today because it was so powerful and it was absolute bliss just to enjoy ourselves and do whatever we wanted to do. And so if you were taking a sabbatical, what would it be? What would you do? And my final angle to look at this from is, it's about voice and it's about agency. It's about, what would the message be that you would bring to the world? If you could bring a message, what would you want to say? And this can sometimes be hard to get at because we're so used to representing other people. We represent organizations, we represent groups that we're part of, communities that we're part of. We're used to saying things to the world, but we're not necessarily used to our message. So what is it inside? What would you like other people to know or to realize or to try out? Or what would you like to say that would shift how people think about things or introduce something new to people? We are in an incredible era where we are able to share our messages now so much easier than in other eras, and yet we have to tune into that, and that is also part of discovering more and more about who we are. Now, I just want to mention a quick tool before I leave you with the core questions of today. I want us this week to really embrace the messiness of being ourselves. We so often have so many things in our mind that will tell us how things should look or the expectations of how things should happen. And I want us to embrace messy and really leave to the side perfection. So I want us to be thinking done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. The mess of success. Success is messy. We are messy. And we don't have to be perfect. I heard an amazing quote which said, perfection is fear in high heels. So let's leave perfectionism to the side. Let's see it for what it is, which is us trying to fit ourselves, square peg in round holes. It's us trying to do things that in a certain way that don't necessarily go with who we are or how we're wired. And let's get really comfortable with being messy us. So I'm going to leave you with 2 questions, the core questions for you to think about today. You know the drill. have a cup of tea or take some moments as you're on the move to really think and reflect, even for a few minutes, on this topic. And you'll be amazed by where you get to. The core questions, which are also in your planner, are number one, sitting with these things that we've talked about. What parts of yourself do you most want to reclaim or strengthen? And secondly, which ways of working feel like you, even if it feels messy or different to conventional wisdom? I'm so excited for you as you press into these things today, and I can't wait to see you for tomorrow's training. Thank you for listening to the Great British Foreign Affairs podcast, where Britain meets the world. Subscribe today, share it with a friend or colleague, and be part of shaping Britain's role on the global stage.